Hey everyone, and welcome back to Aaron Limitless. Today we are going to be building a new home. This is The Sims 4, and we are doing a build of a modern farmhouse. So, for those of you that are just joining, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you are coming back from a previous video, welcome back, and thank you for watching again. The rest of the video of the previous build will be out within the next week and a half, the other 10 videos. Sorry for the delay. It was just a really hectic month for me, but things are starting to get caught up. But I wanted to start building this build and put something else new out there just to give somebody else and other people a opportunity to be able to kind of have something to look forward to. And I want to do a different build just to kind of, put something else different that was, the opposite of the other house that I was building, which was like a gigantic, massive mansion here in the other world, versus this one is going to be still a pretty good size house, but it's going to be a lot smaller in scale. I would say probably relatively speaking, this house is probably closer to like 5,000 square feet versus that mansion that I have been building that you guys saw that I built. Was closer to like probably legitimately 20,000 square feet. It was just a massive home. So I wanted something to be a little bit more cozy, but I still wanted to kind of have that really clean, modern vibe. But I wanted to kind of that farmhouse, kind of eco-friendly, very like, plain. The aesthetic is very simple, kind of, doesn't stand out too much, but is a pretty design too. So now, as you can see, I'm kind of just playing around with figuring out how I want the actual shape and everything of the house to be. It's always hard when you're first starting to build because I feel like you don't want to use up too much of the property, but then at the same time, you don't want the house to be too small in comparison. This is a pretty big lot. I forget what size it is. It's not the biggest, but I think it's like 2 or 3 sizes below the largest lots they make. So I wanted to try to fill that in, but as you can see, I will start to adjust it and add in whatever I need to add in and take away as far as the size. I definitely scale back a little bit to give a little bit more of backyard. So now for me, the one thing that always throws me and I always seem to forget when I'm playing in The Sims 4 compared to 3 is the foundation's a lot different. It's a lot easier to build the foundation in this game, but I always forget about it and I always end up trying to do it the hard way, which you really can't do in this game versus The Sims 3. But as you can see right now, I'm kind of just playing around with everything else first. I've never been a order person when it comes to like planning out builds. I kind of just build as I see fit. Like I won't just do the house and then do the windows and then do the doors and kind of go in steps. I just prefer to kind of what my mind is on at the time I do, and then I'll adjust it there on out beforehand. I'm a little bit more methodical and whatnot when I actually get to the insides of the homes though. But on the outside, I kind of just go with it because I sometimes have plans and ideas in my head, but we're trying to be a whole new idea. It's kind of hard to do that until you actually build and get kind of a structure of the home. So now, as you can see, I am putting in the foundation of the house. It was really hard. I didn't know if I wanted to do just a really standard foundation or if I wanted it to be higher up. In the end, I believe I decided to stick with either this or one more level up. But I didn't want it to be too tall either because it wasn't like we were on like a beach side or anything. Even though there is water kind of nearby, it wasn't directly nearby. So I always just felt weird about having foundations that are too high up. I also didn't want it to feel too grand, if that makes sense. So as you can see, I'm just kind of going down to figure out the kind of style and everything I want for the foundation. I think I ultimately just ended up taking a more plain approach to it and not doing too much with it just because I wanted it to be a little, more understated than over the top like the other house was. So now I believe I am adjusting for, I want to put a porch in and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to build it. So if I go in and out of this video, it's just because I don't have anything to talk about at the moment. and I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory at certain parts. So if you don't hear me talk for a minute, that's the reason why. And I'm trying to gather my thoughts for whatever else might be coming up as well. But as you can see, I kind of didn't want too big of a porch either because it's not really that kind of style of a house. But at the same time, it did deserve to have some sort of, entryway that was raised up and a little bit of a separation. So you can see at this point right here, when I start putting everything in, I'm going to readjust this a couple of times. Now you can see I'm kind of pulling back with sizing down the house a little bit more, just because I didn't want it to be too boxy either. And then just trying to think and realizing, okay, I don't need that much space. So I kind of readjust everything a little bit. Other parts I usually will edit out, but sometimes you might just see that nothing is happening. Usually I'm kind of stuck. I'm trying to get my train of thought of what I want to do next or how I want to position something. Usually anything that's more than like 10 seconds, I'll edit out, but sometimes it's just not worth the jump cut to get it out of the video just because there's really no point of it, because by the time I would go in and edit it out, it really isn't going to be a lot or enough for me to really jump in that space. But usually I would feel like when I build the original house, like the foundation and the actual home shape itself and the exterior, I always have probably the longest time that I have kind of like a lapse in what I want to do. And it's usually a good like 2 or 3 minutes. So that I obviously will edit out. But that's why sometimes you'll see all of a sudden it just seems like I'm just building super fast. Typically that's when I just cut out a big gap that I had to think of what I wanted to do. Railings are always hard for me to find. They always look good in the picture, but then when you put it down, it just doesn't feel the aesthetic. So this one was kind of like, I didn't want to go too modern, but I really didn't want traditional whatsoever either. So I kind of played around with it. And then ultimately I decided that I think the glass could work with this home just because it does go with the farmhouse, and with me wanting it to be modern, it definitely gives that modern aesthetic with it. I am so tired today. I've been getting a new Airbnb rental up and running, and I want to have the new unit for upstairs ready by Friday. Currently it is Wednesday, and pretty much I haven't done anything up there for that unit, but all the furniture is in there and set where it needs to go. So one night I'm waiting for the rest of my stuff to come by delivery tomorrow. Then I have a couple of orders to pick up tomorrow, and then later tomorrow night I will just start kind of hammering everything out, getting it all done. It'll probably take like 3 or 4 hours to set everything up and decorate it. But once you kind of get everything in there and you have a plan, it goes pretty quickly. And then it's kind of like, wow, it's crazy how literally the house feels empty because everything's in boxes and not put away. And then all of a sudden it's just a legitimate home. There's still like about 10% of stuff that will take another month and a half to get done, which is kind of just random things as you go on. But 90% of the work gets done pretty relatively quickly. So it's just been a long week. I'm going on vacation next week to visit my sister. So it's just been kind of one of those things where it's just so much stuff is just going on and whatnot. But I wanted to try to get these videos out. I have so much backlog of stuff to put out. So figured to do my voiceover recording and editing of these videos at least to get them out there. In the meantime, would at least, give me something to do so I don't just feel like I'm not doing anything. Because I can't really do anything today until I get a couple of things that I need for tomorrow, and then I can do the Airbnb house. So I figured today was a good excuse to get the edited and stuff and whatever online stuff done that I can do. Because that way, if I do the Airbnb listings, I'll have all the online stuff done, and then all I have to do is add the pictures to it and make it go live. And it'll be all set, which will be nice because finally in New York State, our governor has declared the pandemic itself is over. COVID is still here, but the actual restrictions and everything have all been completely lifted. We've hit 70% overall in New York State, so that's a good thing. Pretty much all businesses and all activities have been deemed allowed to go back to pre-pandemic. measures, so that's awesome. So it's really excited. And so I'm preparing for a huge onslaught of people that want to travel. Traveling has definitely picked up a lot this year and even at the end of last year, but I expect it to be like full steam ahead again, like it was before the pandemic. So I've been trying to get these houses up and running to try to take advantage of that. So as you can see here now, I finally put in the door. I wanted something grand but simple at the same time, and I kind of wanted the windows to match that. It's always hard, do I want to put windows on both sides of the door or do I want the gap in between the door? So ultimately, because this door has so many windows in it already, I decided to have the gaps on both sides of the door for this one. So now you can see I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for the roof. And then you will see that I totally forget that I want to build a second story. So don't worry, it is going to be a second story house. But the roofs and the foundation are always the one thing that I'm always kind of baffled with when doing, because it is a lot different from the other Sims games. But it is ultimately easier and more customizable, which is what I prefer. It's just kind of getting used to it. Because if you guys don't know, when I used to play The Sims 1, I probably had close to, I don't even know, maybe 4,000 hours. Like that was all I did as a kid was play The Sims. The Sims 2 came out and it was kind of, I had so much invested in the first one and then there wasn't expansions when the first Sims 2 game came out, so I didn't really play it. So I think I have a total of maybe 10 hours on The Sims 2. Sims 3 was definitely the second most used one, which I had I think close to like 1,500 hours altogether, but still more so like in a 2 year pocket of when I played that game a ton. This game, ironically, I bought it the day it came out. I played it for 5 minutes and I didn't touch it for almost 2.5 years. And then I played it again and again, didn't touch it for another 2 years. And then slowly I've been kind of getting back into playing this for a couple of hours every week just to kind of get back into my hobbies because I've been so focused on work and trying to like grow everything brand wise and with Airbnb and with this channel. I really haven't focused on really doing my hobbies. So I've been trying to make an effort to play more video games and just kind of do more stuff that I've been wanting to do. It's been very more focused with wanting to hang out with my friends and, travel, but I kind of want to get back into like my actual hobbies at the same time. And I figured what better way to do that than start incorporating some of it into my YouTube. So as you can see, I'm putting in the upstairs now. I know you can do the squared room thing so you can build it a lot quicker, and I'm sure there might be like an automatic thing to have it go all the way around, but I haven't figured it out yet, and I'm much more of a simple person, but I also feel like this at least lets you see it a little bit more than doing a lot of the automatic, building sections of the home. So it makes it feel a little bit more authentic and gives you kind of more of a step-by-step. But as you can see, the house does kind of almost look very like more mid-century modern style but larger, but it will start to feel homey, I promise. Now I'm kind of figuring out what I want to do for the roof. First I was going to just kind of do like the minimum amount of roof lines and everything to do for the house to fit it. But then I ended up deciding that it would actually look better having multiple roof lines, almost to make it look like it was a farmhouse that was originally built and was added onto over and over again, like a lot of farmhouses are, at least in the States. So now I'm kind of just playing with the pitch and everything and figuring out how I want it to look. There's so many like domers and everything else that you can add in this game compared to the Sims 3, so it's kind of fun to like play with that and figure everything out versus just playing with pitch like you could in the Sims 3, and that was virtually it. So it's a lot kind of fun to actually be able to do that, and with everything that you can add to the roofs and everything now is kind of fun and exciting to figure that kind of stuff out. At least when you guys are watching this, with me recording this, it feels a lot slower in retrospect. And I think I might have just made a fatal decision. I'm just thinking about it. I think normally I edit the video and then after I have it sped up for the build, I go back and I do my voiceover. So now I'm trying to think like the voiceover is probably going to come out screwed up with I don't know what you call it. It's going to come out screwed up because it's going to speed up the voice, or the timing is going to be off, because if I'm recording a 35-minute video but then cutting it down to 10 minutes, it's going to cut out that trim with the voiceover. So this one won't be a normal sped up version build, but I figured with this video it isn't tremendously long, so I will probably not talk for this entire video as a way to not, fill in all of this time for this video, and I'll just come back closer to the end of the video or pop in at parts to kind of go over what is going on, because that's really the only thing I can think of doing. I really don't want to start over this whole video with the voiceover, because I know I won't remember everything, and I like the kind of flow that I'm going in. But you live and you learn, you always make mistakes, whatever. The video itself, I don't think too many people will care if it's really a speed build or not. They can always fast forward and, jump through it quicker if they want to. But yep, so now you can see that I'm playing with the actual patterns of the roof. So I'm kind of really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went through different colors and stuff. Then I kind of was more like, well, do I want to do, this and that? So I kind of ended up deciding on that color roof, because eventually I will add solar panels to the roof. So I wanted to have some kind of color that kind of contrasts with it. Quick side note, as you can see with the voiceover, I did speed up the video a little bit, so it doesn't completely coincide with the time frame of what I'm talking about. As you can see, I already moved on to the windows when I started to talk about the paint color and stuff, so I was a little bit behind, but it wasn't too drastically. You kind of knew what I was doing. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm doing the windows and kind of the landscape. But yeah, like I said before, I will jump back with you guys once we start in the backyard. As you can see now, I am putting in my vehicles. These are not included in the game, obviously, as you can see that there are Mercedes and BMW, but it is custom content that you can download. I use a lot of custom content. You need to be careful on where you get them from. A lot of the stuff I get from a few people that have recommended, but it's very light, like for the vehicles, and very like one or two specific things. And I always test those before I will save the game and anything like that, just to make sure it all works. Any of the other stuff that I do get, the hundreds of items, I usually get from the Sims resource. I pay for the premium one, so it's all like already dedicated and checked out with that, and I haven't had any issues. But I don't do it a tremendous amount. Like I'll go a couple of months and then I'll do like a huge like 2 hour haul where I'll just go through and download hundreds of things, and we'll do that. But yeah, so I added the vehicles in the game just because I kind of wanted it to be just to be a little bit more custom and make it more like lifelike, because I know there isn't any in the game itself. Um, you know, I do change the driveway eventually where it kind of goes into that into the brick area that you see there, so it doesn't stay that way for the entire time. But now I'm just going on to the fence, and after that we should be getting started for the backyard. Okay, now we are in the backyard. I am getting ready to start to make the back patio porch area. So essentially, I kind of want it to be a little bit mirrored and not take over a ton of room. I usually make very big patios, but I just didn't think that we needed a tremendous amount because I'm going to try to eventually build out the entire backyard to have a lot more space to do stuff. This video will essentially just kind of be more or less, you know, a more cozy large home, but not like over the top, like overly extravagant either. So I don't put like a tremendous amount, and the backyard isn't huge, but it's backed up to a very pretty area, little like kind of like pond park area, and a lot of people will go through there. So it didn't really need a tremendous amount of stuff, and I will add more into the game eventually that you guys will see, but this video is just going to be like the generic, general stuff that was needed for the most part, just to kind of like get the house started. For you to be able to see, it's mostly the actual house build itself, but I wanted to throw some pool stuff in there. As you can see, I'm changing through the different kind of pool textures that you can have, or water, should I say. I think I usually do end up doing like the natural or like the sea salt one or whatever. It's just the one that looks the best. It's still kind of blue, but not too blue. I don't like any of the sparkles or any of the other stuff inside of it. The one thing that always is the bane whenever I build any house is I hate, for whatever reason, these pool things. The color just never matches up with the swatch or the thumbnail shows when you do it. Like there, kind of look like it's like almost like a grayish or white right there, but then you put it down and it's not that color. So it just always throws me. I always just assume it's something with the shading in the game, but I just kind of learned to deal with it because there really doesn't seem to be anything else in the game that has that issue. But it's kind of still a little frustrating just because it's that one thing that you would want to change because it is such a major part of the pool. Now I'm going through putting the light in. And then I'm going to be putting in a couple of things. I wish they had a diving board like everybody else. Do they have a diving board? I'm sure I could probably get like custom content download of it, even if it doesn't, if your people can't actually use it, just to have it though. A lot of stuff, that's the thing, is some of the custom content they can't interact with unless they make it that you can interact it when the person designed the custom content CC. but I don't really care too much about that because obviously I have other stuff that they can interact with, and I just like the game to feel more realistic. So it's not really a huge issue to me because I very rarely actually play the live-in modes, but I'll try to do some of that with these houses just because I feel like they should be able to enjoy them, and it is fun to play the game, not just always build, even though building is my main passion of the game and what originally had me interested in the Sims franchise. Now you can see that I'm kind of finishing up the actual patio area, just figuring out how size I want to have it and where I want to lay this stuff out. Now I'm going through the tables to build my custom-ish table. They're never big enough in the game, so all my dining room tables that people eat at are always larger. Same with the islands. So I always kind of just figure out which one I want and then kind of play around with it just to see how I like them just to look bigger. So I end up just, making them larger and figuring out the size and everything, the kind of chairs that I want. Again, I kind of wanted like an outdoor minimalistic farm style. So this is like more of the modern stuff, and then the farm style is more of like the aesthetic of the house and the color palette and the actual house itself. So it's, I guess, my loose interpretation and take on the actual you know aesthetic of the home itself. I feel like I made the table bigger than this. I might be wrong, but yeah, I'm building the chairs now, so I must have been making the table bigger. Just because once now I look at it, it's like, okay, now there's more room. And it looks like, I always try to do 8 to 10 people because I feel like no matter how small or big of a house, um, it gives you enough to have, your family in the house. And then if you have people over an event or something, there's enough, space for everybody. But I really like this very like clean pattern of this outdoor kind of, area. So as you can see now, I'm kind of readjusting everything to figure out how to get the chair to move. Then I remembered I could do the Alt to get it to go off the square. And then I'm going to throw some, I didn't put any patio, like what do you call it? Umbrellas or anything up on this one because I wanted that more clean aesthetic for this. I usually try to put up an umbrella, but this one I just kind of felt like it'll be one of those things where they'll just eat there, and if it's a hot day or if it's raining, they just won't be out there, obviously. So I just left it really clean and open. Try to figure out some decor. I always try to put either some kind of plant or flowers in the center of the table, just to have a centerpiece. And then I usually try to flank both sides of it with candles and or lanterns of some kind. So as you can see now, I'm kind of just going through. I have so much custom content that I didn't actually play with before I started this one. So it's kind of like I don't really know where everything is yet. And then I'm seeing like, oh, I have all this new stuff. So I'm trying to like play with it. So as you can see, I'm kind of just going through, trying to add some more like ambiance candles around. That's the one thing that always frustrates me with tabletops is you can't always put anything anywhere you want, even with like Alt or the Move Objects cheat turned on. So that's a little frustrating, but it worked out pretty well on this one. But we're reaching the end of the video overall for this. So I am going to get ready to let you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is going to be a part 1 probably of, I would say, maybe 8 or 9 videos for this entire house. And then all of these individual videos will be edited together to be one large video. And I'll do voiceover of that too. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked what you saw, give it a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and definitely subscribe. I try to do tons of different things from interior design, gameplay, travel, some business, daily vlogging, all that kind of different, pretty much whatever I'm in the mood to talk about, really. I don't want to, narrow my channel down to any one kind of, topics or whatever, or have one kind of theme. So I kind of just make it Aaron Limitless because it's kind of limitless of what I can do. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or want to see any other content, let me know down in the comments below. And I will see you guys again in the next video in a couple of days. All right. Thank you for watching Aaron Limitless, and I will talk to you next time.